Hey there, got another episode of Before You Buy for you guys. As usual, it's me, Jake Baldino, and today we're talking about The Long Dark. This has been an early access survival game for years. Since its first official-ish release in 2014, we've really been keeping our eyes on it just because it's a bit different than your normal average survival game. It had a solid Kickstarter with a lot of people behind it, and for seemingly pretty good reason. But now in 2017, the game is getting a more full traditional release with not only just a survival mode that has been fleshed out over and over again, but with the first 2 episodes of a 5-episode story mode. So I figured now would be a good time to do a Before You Buy. So let's start with that. The story mode is called Wintermute. The general setup of The Long Dark here is you're a pilot who crashes in the cold Canadian wilderness, and then only with the story mode you crash for a reason, and you have far more of a sense of a character. And I think it's no easy feat to build a story mode around a sandbox survival game. It took them a long time. The story mode has been consistently delayed for quite a while, but after these first 2 episodes that went live, I think they kind of figured it out. It starts off simple enough though. The game starts heavily in like a tutorial mode in a safer area, but it's still pretty high energy just because you can still die really quick. The first person game revolves around managing everything. It's cold. You're cold. You need to gather wood to build a fire to stay warm and not freeze to death. You need to keep that fire going to cook dead rabbits or deers to eat, as well as boil down melted snow to water to purify it, and then also keep your clothes dry. But don't get injured, or you'll have to find bandages and rags and just stuff to heal yourself, but you can also get infected. There's so much. That's really the short of it, but also you can get eaten by wolves. And it'll happen a lot, and it's scary, especially in sandbox mode. But in story mode, you might even get frustrated at first, but it'll pass here. You wake up from the plane crash, and it's up to the game and you to figure out how to really heal your wounds, get warm, rest up, purify some water, and find some food. The game teaches you without really holding your hand too hard, and it still manages to hang on to what actually made the sandbox mode pretty darn good in the first place. It's still much easier than sandbox mode, but it's got its moments of real tension and challenge. Now running away from a wolf half dead in the freezing winter at night and getting to safety just at the last minute has a little bit more meaning because you have a quest and you're hunting for, say, a key or a certain material. You made your own stories in sandbox mode through encounters, and here it can feel just as tense, but just now with actual more dialogue and stuff. The story, though, is told through some great presentation and voice acting. I gotta say, I'm pretty impressed. The cutscenes aren't as sparse as I expected, and the unique art style here really freaking shines. I mean, characters just look cool. Your main character, though, pilot Will McKenzie, teams up with his ex, Astrid, to transport something important. It's kind of like a mystery, but his plane gets stuck in a storm, and then upon crashing, they're both split up. Dialogue here too, save for a few, groan-worthy pedestrian-ass lines, is really solid and convincing. They feel like real people with real problems, and it's portrayed pretty excellently by greats like Mark Meir, Jennifer Hale, and David Hayter. Elias Tefexis is also going to join on in the later episodes, and I'm a big fan of him too, so I'm looking forward to what could be just a great recipe of voice actors. It's paced fairly well too. Like I said, it still manages to feel like survival, but eventually it opens up a bit with an old town that you find, and that kind of changes your playstyle slightly, and you get more quests. It might sound kind of counterintuitive, but it actually works for this gameplay. A fetch quest is usually lame in a game, but when you're managing injuries, hunger, calories burned, time, cold, and resources, it really just instantly makes a fetch quest into a freaking harrowing adventure. And I think that makes up for the actual story, which to me, so far, just seems kind of fine. The presentation and acting is great, but the story itself doesn't seem too exceptional, at least not yet. There's a few surprises and revelations that are probably going to be different for everyone. I wasn't super jazzed by them, but I've seen other people really shocked and surprised comparing it to stuff like Telltale Walking Dead stuff. So I don't know. That's just me though. But thankfully, between the 2 episodes, you're getting over 11 hours of gameplay just in this mode alone, depending on how much you suck at these styles of games, with 3 more episodes on the horizon. So that's a total of 5 pretty beefy episodes to play through. There's also a great small objective-based mode called Challenges that have a beginning to end, and they do a great job of really giving you more to play. They don't always feel as perfect as the other modes, but it's just more to play, and it's all good. Some of these modes actually will throw you right in the action, which is extremely helpful if you just want to hop in and shoot a bear in the face and only play for an hour and have an actual finished ending. But then, of course, there's also survival mode, the big crux here. This is the biggest chunk of the game. It's been what's been worked on the most, and it's still definitely the most fun and most impressive. It starts off with you playing as a male or female with 4 different difficulty modes, and and multiple maps to choose from of like varying difficulty. This is really challenging. This mode is notoriously harsh because surviving in the winter is harsh, and there's a reason people have been loving it for years. It's a survival game with, to me, a bit more class and a bit more depth to it. You know, the complications and the stats therein are really good, and the game isn't really focused around crafting as much, so you're not just staring at a tree and hacking it slowly for hours. It's more about resource management, and I think that's what I like about it the most, because it gets really stressful, but it also feels raw and real. It doesn't feel dumb, you know? Does that make sense? It's also a visual feast graphically. I will say it doesn't run too amazing on the PS4 version I've been playing on most recently, but like the colors, the contrasting light, and just the general art style and look of the game just makes it look really different and interesting. It also helps too that it's backed up with like some minimalist sound design and music too. That really all just kind of packages it into a great bunch of sandboxes to have a bunch of different experiences in, and I really enjoy that. The Long Dark, I think, is a really good time. I honestly thought I was gonna hate it at first. I'm not really like the biggest survival guy, but I found myself playing this one way more than I expected. But that's how a Before You Buy works. I give you the pros, the cons, and some personal opinion thrown in there, but now I definitely want to hear yours down in the comments. Maybe you're somebody who kicked in right from the original Kickstarter and has been following it from the beginning. I want to know what you're thinking. You've been following it probably with every single update, so now that there's finally a story mode out, I want to know how you feel about it. But also, if you're just someone coming in for the first time and seeing gameplay now, I also want to know what you think. Do you think this looks like another underwhelming survival game, or do the visuals really kind of perk your interest enough? Let's talk about anything The Long Dark down in the comments. I'll be down there as usual talking to you guys as much as I possibly can, but if you got anything more for me, any questions or any hate mail, hit me up on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at Jake Baldino. You guys know that also clicking the like button helps us out a ton. We do always appreciate it, but subscribing is also good because we put out stuff like this all the time. But as always, thanks for watching. We'll see you guys next time.